so this is part 2 of the parents chapter. We just left off on Mrs. Wormwood's beautiful face right there, and she's just telling Miss Honey off. Is that all you came to tell us about Matilda, that it was her first day of school? So we're going to see what Miss Honey responds. Miss Honey stared hard into the other woman's wet gray eyes, and she allowed the silence to hang in the air until Mrs. Wormwood became uncomfortable. I like that kind of metaphor right there. Miss Honey allowed the silence to hang in the air. Can silence hang in the air? Can you see silence on a rope hanging in the air? No, right? But she kind of just let that like awkward silence, or it's very tense, right? Just hang in the air. So it's kind of like when you walk in the room and it's quiet and you're wondering what's going on. That's kind of a metaphor that this author uses. I like it. Until Mrs. Wormwood became uncomfortable. Do you wish me to explain why I came? She said. Get on with it then, Mrs. Wormwood said. I'm sure you know, Miss Honey said, that children in the bottom class at school, kindergarten, are not expected to be able to read or spell or juggle with numbers when they first arrive. 5-year-olds cannot do that, but Matilda can do it all, and if I am to believe her, I wouldn't, Mrs. Wormwood said. She was still ratty at losing the sound of the TV. Was she lying then, Miss Honey said, when she told me that nobody taught her to multiply or to read? Did either of you teach her? Teach her what? Mr. Wormwood said. To read books, Miss Honey said. Perhaps you did teach her. Perhaps she was lying. Perhaps you have shelves full of books all over the house. I wouldn't know. Perhaps you are both great readers. Of course we read, Mr. Wormwood said. Don't be so daft. I read the autocar and the motor from cover to cover every week. Those are books about cars. This child has already read an astonishing number of books. I hope some of you buzzed. So astonishing. I'm going to read this sentence just because I'm not sure what that word means. This child has already read an astonishing number of books, Miss Honey said. I was simply trying to find out if she came from a family that loved good literature. So, if Miss Honey is saying that Matilda has read from an astonishing number of books, and she's saying that she's so impressed with Matilda and asking her parents if they love reading or if they taught her how to read, that kind of tells me that astonishing is just like an amazing, a really impressive amount of books, right? So astonishing is just something that's extremely surprising, amazing, impressive. If you say, oh, I was astonished by the way that I got straight A's this semester, it's just super impressive, right? All right, let's keep going. We don't hold, Mr. Wormwood replied. We don't hold with book reading, Mr. Wormwood said. You can't make a living from sitting on your fanny and reading storybooks. We don't keep them in the house. There's the lovely couple right there. I see, Miss Honey said. Well, all I came to tell you is that Matilda has a brilliant mind, but I expect you to know that already. Of course I knew she could read, the mother said. She spends her life up in her room, buried in some silly book. But does it not intrigue you, Miss Honey said, that a little 5-year-old child is reading long adult novels by Dickens and Hemingway? Doesn't that make you jump up and down with excitement? So that was your last buzzword for today, friends. But does it not intrigue you, Miss Honey said, that a little 5-year-old child is reading these adult novels? So Miss Honey is really trying to ask, does it not impress you? Does it not fascinate you how this little girl can read these adult novels, right? That's what Miss Honey came over for, right? To ask her parents, well, doesn't this just seem amazing, out of the ordinary, that a little kindergartner is reading adult books? That's fascinating to me. Not particularly, the mother said. I'm not in favor of blue stocking girls. A girl should think about making herself look attractive so that she can get a good husband later on. Looks is more important than books, Miss Hunky. The name is Miss Honey, Miss Honey said. Now look at me, Mrs. Wormwood said. Then look at you. You chose books, I chose looks. Uh-oh. Miss Honey looked at the plain, plump person with the smug, sweat pudding face who was sitting across the room. What did you say? She asked. I said, you chose books and I chose looks, Mrs. Wormwood said. And who's finished up with the better off? Me, of course. I'm sitting pretty in a nice house with a successful businessman, and you're left slaving away teaching a lot of nasty little children the ABC. Quite right, Sugar Plum, Mr. Wormwood said, casting a look of such simpering sloppiness at his wife, it would have made a cat sick. Miss Honey decided that if she was going to get anywhere with these people, she must not lose her temper. I haven't told you all of it yet, she said. Matilda, so far as I can gather at this early age, is also kind of a mathematical genius. She can multiply complicated figures in her head like lightning. What's the point of that when you can buy a calculator, Mr. Wormwood said. A girl doesn't get a man by being brainy, Mrs. Wormwood said. Look at that film star, for instance, she added, pointing at the silent TV screen, where a bosomy female was being embraced by a craggy actor in the moonlight. You don't think she got him to do that by multiplying figures at him, do you? Not likely. And now he is going to marry her. You see, if he doesn't, and she's going to live in a mansion with a butler and lots of maids. Sorry. Miss Honey could hardly believe what she was hearing. She had heard that parents like this existed all over the place and that her children turned out to be delinquents and dropouts, but it was still a shock to meet a pair of them in the flesh. She just cannot believe what her parents are like. Your last question for today, what does Miss Honey think of Matilda's parents and their view on education? Why is their reaction surprising to Miss Honey? I'm going to read that one more time. What does Miss Honey think of Matilda's parents and their view on education? Why is their reaction so surprising to Miss Honey? Matilda's trouble, she said, trying once again, is that she is so far ahead of everyone else around her that it might be worth thinking about some extra kind of private tuition. I seriously believe that she could be brought up to university standard in 2 or 3 years with the proper coaching. University, Mr. Wormwood shouted, bouncing up in his chair. Who wants to go to university, for heaven's sake? All they learn is bad habits. We know that peak scholars all want to go to university, right? That is not true, Miss Honey said. If you had a heart attack this minute and had to call a doctor, that doctor would be a university graduate. If you got sued for selling someone a rotten secondhand car, you'd have to get a lawyer, and he'd be a university graduate, too. Do not despise clever people, Mr. Wormwood, but I can see we're not going to agree. I'm sorry I burst in on you like this. Miss Honey rose from her chair and walked out of the room. Mr. Wormwood followed her to the front door and said, Good of you to come, Miss Hawks, or is it Miss Harris? It's neither, Miss Honey said, but let it go. And away she went. All right, scholars, so that is the end of the parents chapter. So this chapter actually revealed to us a lot about who Miss Honey is, what her plan with Matilda is, and again, what kind of parents Matilda has. So make sure to fill out the questions, the big idea, right? What was this chapter about? And I hope that maybe you can use those buzzwords, intrigue, astonished, briskly in your new vocabulary. And I hope all of y'all are doing good. I miss you so much. Stay healthy and tune in for the next chapter of Matilda. Bye.
20 years ago, we could turn the numbers back by hand. But here, take my hat. But the feds like to test the ingenuity of the American businessman. Two-directional drill. You run it backwards, the numbers go down. Watch your speedometer.
Cool.
See?
Yeah. Daddy, you're a crook.
What?
This is illegal.
Yeah, keep drilling. Do you make money? Do you have a job?
No, but don't people need good cars? Can't you sell good cars, Dad?
Listen, you little wiseacre. I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it. Whoa. Ah. Way down there.
Harry! I won! I won! I hit the double bingo! Ah! Come on, everybody! I'm taking you all to Cafe La Ritz!
Let me see the money.
Never mind.
Double bingo, huh? Ooh.
God, your hair looks awful. I hope they let you in.
They'll let me in.
Here's your hat, Daddy.
Get in the car. Go on, get in. Yeah. How much?
It's for me to know and you to find out. It's nice to go out sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
You never take us out.
Of course I do. I took you to the flipper.
I don't remember any of the flipper.
The fish joint. You found that comb in the bouillabaisse.
Oh, yeah, I like that joint.
Bonjour, this way, please.
Harry, take your hat off.
I can't.
This is a nice place. You can't wear a hat inside.
I can't take it off.
Harry, nobody cares what your hair looks like.
I can't
with
get
this
it off.
hat?
I can't get it off. I can't get it off.
Oh, just a minute. I'm gonna get this hat off. I'm pulling it. I think your head swelled up really bad.
You put on the skin.
You're such a baby. Stop it.
5 is a fuse to the head.
5 is a fuse. What is that supposed to mean? Give me that.